Kyle, last year we learned absolutely zilch about the UCF Knights from the Carolina game.
But that ACC opportunity against Pitt could teach us a little more next year.
You are Locked On UCF, your daily podcast on the UCF Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to Locked On UCF, your daily UCF podcast. I'm your host, Mike G. Turn us on, turn us up. We'll turn it out. I'm here with my good friend, Kyle Nash, a senior writer, UCFKnightsZone.com, to talk a little UCF football here on a Sunday. Kyle, we talk a lot about Alonza Barnett, but who is UCF's best player not named Alonza Barnett? Oh, we're going to get into it.
What a fun concept. But hey, before that, I'm going to get my chance to weigh in on the floor and the ceiling for UCF this year in the coming season.
I'm talking about that Pitt game early in the season, which will have a lot to do with where the floor and ceiling is at. What is the importance of beating Pitt, and what will that game tell us about the UCF Knights? That's where we're going to start the show. Today's show is brought to you by our title sponsor, FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Head to FanDuel.com or download the app to get started today. We'll talk about them a little later in the show. You guys know the drill. Like and subscribe to the channel. Help us beat the algorithm. Kyle, we need your likes and subscribes. We appreciate every single listener. We talked a lot about the schedule lately, so we're going to continue that conversation. Early season test in the non-conference versus Pitt, as I mentioned in the cold open. We learned absolutely nothing against Carolina. I called that blowout. Carolina fans were all upset. They were all in a tizzy. They were like, well, we might as not even play the game, Mike G, because he said blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we beat you badly because you had less than 0 quarterbacks on your roster. Pitt's going to be, I think we can agree, Pitt's going to be a much tougher test than Carolina is. But what do we learn from this game, Kyle? It's the second game of the season. They play them September 12th. It's on the road, so an early season road test. The road games this year are at Pitt, at Houston, at Oklahoma State, at Kansas, and ending the season at Colorado. But before you get to those others, you got to go to Pitt. What do we learn after this one?
Yeah, and with Pitt, this isn't like Bill Belichick coming in and learning the ropes for a whole new league, essentially, right? Pat Narduzzi's been there a minute over at Pitt. And listen, Pitt and UCF have a history, right? Pitt was a group that sold out T-shirts, beating would have been a group of 5 team at the time because they stopped the winning streak that UCF had that was started initially by Scott Frost. So there's your historical tight end. But listen, at day's end, Mike, this game's going to have some significance to it. For one, I've called a 3-0. You've called a 4-0 to open the season for UCF. The ability to do that is dependent on beating Pitt. I mentioned the continued understanding of what's going on in the college football space, which, Bill Belichick clearly did not seem to have at the time. And to be honest, I think a lot of people are going to be watching this, right? Should UCF beat a team that was tied for second in the conference last year and in the ACC, a lot of people are going to be tilting their eyebrows to what happened, right? I would say fairly that there's more pressure on Pitt in this game. UCF will be seen as underdogs. Can they take advantage to make not only themselves, but the Big 12 look better on paper? I think this is very important.
What about the offense? They're going to need to pass the ball in this game here. So we're going to do some crossover work with our friends over on the Locked On ACC network and trying to learn a little bit about what kind of test Pitt is going to be. But last year, your starting quarterback gets hurt in game 1, quarter 1. This year, if Alonza Barnett can make it through one game and make it to Pitt, I think we see a little bit about how effective he's going to be at the Power 4 level. There are a lot of people overlooking Alonza Barnett. We've talked about those QB rankings. I've got him in my top 5 now that Sorsby's not in college football anymore, but not in the Big 12. And it seems as if people are starting to catch up to the idea that this kid could be really, really good. Maybe we find out how good against Pitt.
Oh, yeah, I think there's a big element of that, too. Listen, now that Brendan Sorsby's coming up in UFL conversations, like on the Storm Surge podcast, sorry for the cheap plug, but I just had a recording about that the other day. That's changed the whole sky on what's going on and what's falling out of the Big 12 there, 100%. And I think there's another element, too. I know we like talking about the quarterback and it's all sexy, the ability for the offensive line to perform against a power conference in this group is a whole other thing. Alonza Barnett's the more immediate thing, being a guy who was in a group on a group team versus a power team this time last year. This will be his first regular season power conference challenge at UCF. I think there's just a lot of there that will be a storyline here. I think that's 100% correct. How smart he is will be shown. He'll be tested with his intellect. His legs will be tested. And most importantly, his accuracy as well. All will be tested. And hey, listen, the O-line needs to not jump off sides. There's that.
Yeah. Look, last year in the ACC, Pitt was sixth in the conference in yards per game allowed at only 330 yards per game allowed. They allowed 235 yards through the air and 95 yards per game on the ground. That's a pretty stout run defense. But through the air, 235 yards passing in a Power 4 game feels like a fever dream for UCF based on what we saw last year. But we're going to expect Alonza Barnett to break 200 yards passing pretty regularly. I think he's going to have to if UCF is going to win games. Otherwise, it's going to be more of let's just load the box and stop them from throwing the ball, and let's force them to do the thing that they are clearly bad at.
Right. Yeah, or
UCF can't be bad at throwing the ball. Yeah, they can't be bad at it this year. They've got to be at least average to better than average at it this year. And this is a pretty good pass defense to test that against.
Well, and to your point, Mike, what they're probably going to do, if I'm thinking ahead, granted, something could change between then and now, there's a while, but I feel like they're going to come out stuffing the box. Okay, kid, you made the playoffs. Now you're not you're not playing with a power team anymore. We're going to challenge you. I dare you, Alonza. I double dare you. We're going to come at you with probably a run blitz look and make you beat us over the top. And not for nothing, I think your guy Josh Derry will be pretty scary against him if things go according to plan and they complete those passes.
These teams match up, I think, pretty well defensively. Last year, Pitt, 24 points per game. UCF allowed 23 points per game last year. It was a very, very stout UCF defense. The question for me is going to be, is UCF's offense going to make it easy on that defense to hit their benchmarks? Right. Like, because you got to test them a little bit more. And maybe the advantage that UCF has going into this one is they were so limited offensively last year. I don't think anyone's seen the version of this offense that we're going to see this year. Now that they have a quarterback that they feel like can do everything. They feel so good about him. You didn't even have a quarterback competition this spring.
Right. When you're not reliant on, Jakari and other guys too down the line, to your point, with all the injuries, I think that changes the look and feel 100%. And trying to stop Pitt, honestly, unless Pitt somehow comes out being a lateral offense, relying on beating you to the outside with speed, I think it's going to be a pretty even matchup. Granted, the thing we were worried about with Alonza, Mike, and guys, him not being immediately present, making sure that he was as healthy and as ready as possible, was multiplied on defense. A number of players had that. We're not talking enough about that as a potential concern, perhaps, but that's a big test on the defensive side as well, I think, too, Mike.
Look, let's get to our first break, and when I come back, we're going to kind of continue this schedule conversation. I want you to jump in here. James got his shot at it. Eventually, Drew will get his shot at it. But we're going to talk about Kyle Nash's floor and ceiling for the UCF Knights on the football field in 2026. All that and more right after a quick word from our sponsors. This episode of Locked On UCF is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. The biggest stage in the world is here, and every match feels like it has the potential for a memorable moment. I'm talking about soccer. I'm talking about the World Cup. One goal can completely change the energy of a game, shift the momentum, and alter the outcome in an instant. That's what makes tournament soccer so exciting, from opening whistle to final kick. Now FanDuel is giving fans another reason to stay locked into every match with every goal pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals means more bonus bets. All you have to do is turn on your token. Guys, I can't tell you enough, man. This is a fun way to wager on soccer. And that's what we love about tournaments. You can turn on a match between two teams you don't normally follow, and suddenly one goal changes everything. The tension builds so quickly, you're invested before you even realize it. From opening whistle to final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. Locked On UCF listeners, we got a deal for you. It's the UCF Everydayer Club. Head on over to lockedonucf.supercast.com to get signed up today. Our Everydayers get an ad-free feed of the show, as well as access to a private Discord where you can chop it up with other UCF fans just like yourself. It's $5. It's less than the cost of a Starbucks coffee in this economy, and it's only once a month that we're asking that you do this. All that we ask that you do really is just listen to the show, whether it's on YouTube or on audio. But if you want to go a step further in supporting the work that I'm doing here with Kyle and Andrew and James, the Everydayer Club is a great way to get involved. Again, locked on UCF.supercast.com. As always, we appreciate your support. Let's talk schedule here. I asked James. There was a lot of hopium in his answer. He said 10-2. He has a 10-2 ceiling for the Knights in 2026. I don't see 10-2. I see 9-3 if everything goes right. But I also think there's almost zero chance of everything going right. They're going to lose a game. They're going to lose a game that they're not supposed to lose. But can they win a game that that nobody thinks they're going to win? I think we start to see that this year. I'm going to pull the schedule back up here so we can have a closer look at this and sound this out for our friends on audio. When you take a look at the schedule, we mentioned they open pretty soft against Bethune-Cookman September 3rd. They're at Pittsburgh September 12th. They're home versus Georgia State, home versus TCU, at Houston, at Oklahoma State, home versus BYU, home versus Baylor, at Kansas, home versus Arizona State, home versus Iowa State, and at Colorado. I don't see 10 wins on this schedule. The only team that really stands out that looks scary right now is BYU. My reasoning, Kyle, was, like I know, someone on this schedule is going to be a lot better than we think they are right now. Hopefully, one of those teams is UCF. However, there's going to be another team in the conference that is way better. I think there's more parity in the Big 12 than there is in any other Power 4 conference right now. Now with Texas Tech not having their guy they so desperately wanted to play, I have to believe there's a door open here for someone to step in at 2-3 in the conference. What say you, man? When you look at that schedule, what is the best case scenario for UCF, and what's the worst case scenario for the Knights?
Yeah, and listen, I appreciate, to your point, I appreciate James's optimism. I'm just not there. But in my opinion, listen, you're going, everything goes right. What I see here is, the clear, air quotes, the clear loss is BYU, if you're looking at it that way immediately. There's a whole lot of, I don't know what to make of this game on here. But, today, traveling to Houston, I feel like that's probably another loss. Kansas's quarterback situation is so confusing. I don't know what to make of that. Last year, I would have said a definite L, but who knows at this point, right?
Right.
Arizona State is kind of the same. And that being a home game, I think that's more winnable than I would have thought before. This is Cam Scadaboo is not a thing anymore, right? So there's that element too. So for me, I feel like that puts me the ceiling. 9 isn't bad. I'm gonna say 8 just because I can't let my heart be that optimistic.
8-4 ceiling is what you're saying is your best case scenario?
Yeah, okay. Exactly. Now the worst case, and see, that's the thing. Looking at all these, you would think the pendulum would swing pretty wide, right? And one thing I'm not going to account for is injuries. What would cause things to fall through my floor would be that depth or a potential lack thereof, depending on the position, becomes problematic, right? For me, I just don't see a way UCF misses a bowl game here, right? Because I'm already on record saying 3-0 start. You've said September's undefeated. I can't meet you there because TCU is interesting, but I think you have a valid point too. I'm not saying you're wrong, but let's just take my 3-0, and I think they close out 2-0 with a falling Iowa State and Colorado State programs. That means I need only one more win literally anywhere else. So I'm at 6-6 for my floor. I think they make a bowl game this year, even if it's locally here at the Cure Bowl. I'll attend. Whatever, let's work.
Yeah, hard to see less than 6-6.
Yeah,
with the assumed improvements. I mean, 5-7 with no quarterback play all year. So if the defense holds serve and Alonza Barnett is any percent better than any of the guys you had at quarterback last year, I have to believe that there's another win there minimum.
Yeah.
So 6-6 is my absolute floor. I think I'm still a little disappointed at 6-6, honestly. On this schedule, I think I'm still a little disappointed.
Because what I think we would see happening in that scenario was Alonza Barnett doing something cool, like averaging 25 to 30 points in there, call it 27 points a game, but the defense not pulling the weight that they did last year. And fans unfairly are going to put it on them. And I think that if they struggle more than 6-6, I think that's what happens.
Yeah. I that's very logical. If you're 6-6, you are better on offense, but you broke down someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that could be a lot of guys too.
Yeah, that could be due to injury, right? That could be like, hey man, you just lost an all-time UCFer and Malachi Lawrence. If you can't replace that production, then certainly you will not be a better defense.
The bookend defensive ends. Let's not forget about Nigel Leak. Both these guys went to the combine. UCF never had that happen before at defensive end.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's going to be very, very interesting to see. Again, my ceiling was 9-3.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe there's going to be a what the hell game. I think what balances out that what the hell game is going to be that, oh my God, we won. And there were glimpses of that last year. I will remind everybody, this team jumped out to a 14-0 lead on BYU last year before they blew it. And it was a dream start to that game. And in my mind, I'm like, I want to be happy about this, but I know they're not going to keep it up. Because when have they done that all year? Right? I mean, that was the last game of the season last year. So we knew who they were at this point. Now, they get BYU in October this year, so it's a midseason game. But I'm hoping what we learned from Pitt is that this team is made of something different offensively this year. And that they can sustain, maybe even put their foot on the neck of opponents if they get out to a fast lead. They just the playbook was so limited. It wasn't as if they didn't try to throw the ball, but at some point you had to deal with reality if you're Scott Frost that these guys just are who they are,
mm-hmm.
and you're not going to change that. After the midpoint of the season, it was Taven Jackson wasn't suddenly going to become a better quarterback. I think we knew Cam Fancher wasn't suddenly going to become the quarterback that UCF needed, and they dug deep, man. They went to Davie Belfort.
Mm-hmm.
I think you get there because you understand that you have seen all you need to see from the other guys. So if Alonza Barnett is what they think he could be, and some of these other guys like Josh Derry, that are severely being underrated by folks outside the program are what we think they could be, then UCF could do what nobody believes they can do. They're being slept on. And I will remind everyone, it was not that long ago that Arizona State was picked to finish dead last in the Big 12. And not only did they not finish last, they finished first. Mm-hmm. And then they went to the college football playoff and represented this conference well against Texas in that playoff game. Went to overtime. I mean, look, Texas is obviously recruited very well, but Scatterboo and those guys gave Texas all they could handle.
Yeah, the scuttlebutt was they should have won that game, Mike.
Yeah, I agree. Look, let's get to our last segment. I want to talk a little bit about the roster now. Who's the next best player not named Alonza Barnett? This will be a fun one. We'll talk about that next, right here on Locked On UCF. Alonza is clearly the best player, but who is Who's his Robin? Who's the next best player? Is it on offense? Is it on defense? We don't have to spend a ton of time here, but talk to me, man. Who is the next best player not named Alonza Barnett, and what should we expect from him this season?
Listen, I reserve the right to change my mind later, of course, but I know that there's going to be a few popular picks. Braeden Marshall's going to be on the list. I know some people are going to say Dylan Wade. Listen, let me show you my credentials. Maybe it's some trench warfare bias. It's Horace Lockett. At the defensive tackle spot,
Okay.
Horace Lockett, when healthy, is absolutely unstoppable. Double team him. I dare you. I don't care. He still just might beat his way through it. Okay. And the defensive tackle spot for this defense has been historically so important. What Kenny Martin has done with this group, not just in recruiting, but getting them to constantly kick tail on a regular basis to collapse the inside and make the outside prolific, has been so huge. You can do what you can. These guys haven't gotten turnovers traditionally, but when they do, it's because of a quarterback who's scared out of his mind in a run game that's stymied. And it started with that defensive tackle spot and Horace Lockett coming in and handling business. Again, he's got to stay healthy. That's his only issue. But for me, that big man doing some big damage is such a huge thing for UCF.
Kyle, we're gonna do a whole segment on this, and I don't want to spoil it, but would it shock you to know that our friends over at EA Sports rated Horace Lockett only an 82?
That's because he hasn't seen the field enough. I watch tape. I don't look at numbers like the nerds do. And I say this, I can use the N-word. I'm a nerd too. Okay, you know.
Yeah. Look, I would say this. I think it's hard for me not to pick Dylan Wade. Not only was he the best tight end on this roster, he was one of the best tight ends in the country last year. And I think he will continue to be just that. He might be Alonza's greatest safety net this season. There's going to be some questions about this receiver group who I think will outperform expectations, but Dylan Wade will be that steady red zone threat for Alonza Barnett this season. He can go get, he can go get touchdowns for you. He proved it last year. There weren't a lot to get in the passing game. As a matter of fact, you heard me say this to Alonza when we interviewed him. It was, dude, there were only 12 passing touchdowns last season. Only 11 of those were thrown by quarterbacks, and only 4 of those were caught by receivers. 5 of those were caught by Dylan Wade.
And listen, Wade is great, and it's a fine choice. I think it's an element of the events of last year that also pump him up a little bit. This is not me saying Wade is a bad tight end. Let's settle down. What it is when quarterbacks can't throw the ball down the field, Mike, who's left to catch the ball?
Sure.
And if you're having that prolific a year from Wade, you're disappointed in Alonza Barnett.
Well, maybe, or maybe he's just good because
exactly. Maybe Wade evolves with him. That's a fair point by you.
Yeah. Look. I mean, you still got to get. You still got to catch it. You guys still got to catch the balls that are thrown at you. So at the very least, you're reliable, right? At the least, you're reliable when the ball is thrown at you, and catching touchdowns though are about being a threat. Could we see him get close to double-digit touchdowns this season? That'll be interesting to watch. I think he's very talented. I was excited when he announced that he was returning to UCF, and hopefully he'll continue to be a weapon for the Knights. Kyle Nash, senior writer, UCFKnightZone.com. And thank you for joining me on today's show. We're going to go on and get out of here, guys. Hit the comments after the video. Let us know what you think about UCF's next best player not named Alonza Barnett. As if you missed it, get in on the conversation. Do you agree with Kyle's floor and ceiling for the season? Is it 8-4? Is it 6-6? Is it something in between? And what do you expect to learn from the Pitt game early in the season? We want to hear from you. As always, like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow with more Locked On UCF.